Imagine this. You open a door you've waited 3 years to open, and behind it, no one. No sound, no breath, no trace. That's how the story I'm about to tell you begins, and fair warning, the ending is nothing like what you'd expect. It was the sweltering late summer of 1590. A small boat was approaching the shore, and the man sitting in it, Governor John White, was trying to compress 3 years of longing into the next few minutes. What brought him back wasn't duty. It was family. His daughter, his son-in-law, and the granddaughter he had never met, Virginia Dare, the first English child born on American soil. For 3 years, there had been no word from them. War between England and Spain had kept him from returning. Now, finally, he was stepping onto the sandy shore of Roanoke Island with one single wish in his heart, to find them alive. But the moment he stepped ashore, he felt it. Something was missing. The fort's gates hadn't been broken down. The wooden walls stood exactly as he'd left them. But the 115 men, women, and children were simply gone, as if the earth had swallowed them whole. No blood, no sign of struggle, no graves, just emptiness. The only clue was a single word carved into the gatepost: Croatoan. Put yourself in John White's place for a second. For 3 years you've dreamed of your family, imagined the reunion 1,000 times, and the only thing waiting for you is 7 letters carved into wood. How would you read that word? As hope or as a warning? For more than 4 centuries, that question has gone unanswered. But today, I'm telling you, it doesn't anymore. Because the ground has finally started to talk. And trust me, the answer is more human, more fragile, and more moving than anyone expected. In the shadow of legends. For decades, this disappearance was a blank canvas for wild imagination. Some whispered that hostile native tribes had massacred them. Others blamed the Spanish, who patrolled the Atlantic coast to crush any rival European foothold. Darker tales claimed starvation had driven the colonists to madness, or that the land itself had swallowed them. In the 1930s, another layer was added to the mystery: the so-called Dare Stones. Inscriptions supposedly carved by Eleanor Dare, Virginia Dare's mother. They captivated the entire country before being exposed as elaborate fakes. Yes, even back in the 1930s, people loved manufacturing sensational fake news. Apparently that's not a new disease. But history is rarely a story of ghosts. History is usually a story of people fighting to survive. And today, thanks to archival detective work, modern archaeology, and groundbreaking findings from the 2024 to 2025 research seasons, the centuries-old fog over Roanoke is finally starting to clear. The secret hidden under the map. The modern breakthrough didn't begin with a shovel. It began with a piece of paper. In 2012, a researcher at the British Museum was examining La Virginia Pars, a 16th century watercolor map drawn by John White himself. When a backlighting technique was applied, used to reveal hidden lines and erasures, something emerged that had been hidden in plain sight for over 400 years. Beneath a small patch of paper glued onto the map, the faint outline of a 4-pointed fort. What made this symbol so significant was its location, roughly 50 miles inland from Roanoke Island on the mainland. Suddenly, a vague note in John White's own journal made sense. The colonists had discussed moving inland before he left. White had likely glued the patch over the map to hide the plan from Spanish spies. This map wasn't just a drawing, it was a survival plan. Teams shifted their focus from the empty Roanoke Island to a location in Bertie County called Site X. When you're searching for people who vanished 400 years ago, you don't look for wooden structures. Wood rots. You look for what people threw away. And the ground spoke. Archaeologists found fragments of English pottery, a greenish glazed ceramic known as Surrey, Hampshire borderware. But the most important find was something that was missing: no clay tobacco pipes. The Jamestown settlers who arrived a few decades later were so fond of clay pipes that their refuse pits are littered with fragments. The total absence of pipes at Site X acted as a chronological fingerprint. These artifacts predated Jamestown, placing them firmly in the Elizabethan era. Then, Site Y was found, a second, distinct Elizabethan-era site. This wasn't a fluke. It was evidence of a sustained movement inland. The inland relocation theory is no longer a fringe idea. It's a confirmed historical reality. The other side of the water. Here's a question for you. Answer it in the comments. If you were desperate and stranded, would you rather stay alone in unfamiliar land or go towards strangers who might offer you a friendly hand? The Roanoke colonists faced exactly that choice, and now we're learning their answer from the ground itself. The word Croatoan, carved into that gatepost in 1590, wasn't a riddle. It was a place name, the 16th century name for Hatteras Island, home to the friendly Croatoan tribe. For generations, local historians and descendants of the Croatoan people insisted that the English colonists never vanished. They simply integrated into native communities, intermarried, and adopted indigenous ways of life to survive. For decades, mainstream academia dismissed these oral histories as folklore. They were wrong. If you're finding this mystery fascinating, subscribe to the channel and like this video because the most stunning part of the story is still ahead. Excavations conducted on Hatteras Island in 2024 to 2025 have vindicated these old stories. A team led by archaeologist Mark Horton of the Croatoan Archaeological Society, working at the Cape Creek site, uncovered locations where English and Native American artifacts sit together in the very same layer of soil. Native pottery was found mixed with 16th century English tools. The remains of a rapier hilt, a copper ingot, an iron bar, and German stoneware. Later excavations uncovered large quantities of hammer scale, flaky iron waste from metalworking. This detail matters enormously because native populations at the time didn't practice iron forging. That skill could only have come from the English. This wasn't a battlefield, it was a shared living space, a colony that split, not vanished. With the evidence piling up, historians came to understand something new. The Roanoke colony didn't disappear, it fractured. Facing starvation, disease, and the growing fear that John White was never coming back, the colonists made a desperate choice. They split up. Some headed inland towards Site X and Site Y, seeking shelter in the forest. Others went to the coast toward the Croatoan tribe. To prove this story of integration, scientists turned to the most precise archive available, the human body itself. Through the Lost Colony DNA project, led by genetic genealogist Roberta Estes, researchers have traced modern families' genetic codes back to 16th century English markers, linking dozens of families to the lost colonists. To stay honest here, this is still an active, ongoing area of research, and not every scientist agrees on the conclusions. But when you combine the hidden fort on the map, the shared living site on Hatteras, and the genetic evidence, the picture keeps getting clearer. Not a mystery, a human story. The story of Roanoke runs far deeper than a chilling, unsolved mystery. It challenges everything we've been taught about the beginning of America. We're used to historical narratives of Europeans arriving, conquering, and building rigid fortresses of Western civilization. But Roanoke tells a different story, one of ambition brought to its knees by the brutal reality of nature. When the food ran out, when their leader never returned, and when their homeland forgot them, The Roanoke colonists set aside their English identities. They stopped being colonists and became refugees. To survive, they had to let go of the world they knew and embrace the people and the land around them. They dismantled their fort, packed their belongings, and walked into the forests and toward the shore, weaving their bloodlines and their futures into the fabric of the indigenous world. The 115 men, women, and children of Roanoke were never truly lost. We spent 4 centuries searching for an English colony, when what we should have been looking for was an American family. So here's my question for you. If you'd been in their place, which would you have chosen? The risk of staying alone, or the uncertainty of joining a world you'd never known? Leave your answer in the comments. I'll be discussing the most interesting ones in the next video. If you want to follow where this research goes next, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share this story with a friend, because this is history worth watching. See you in the next one.